let's sew a body pillow cover. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are going to be using this pre-packaged 2 yards of cotton material to make a body pillow cover. So to do this, you will need a body pillow, the fabric, I highly recommend pre-washing it, and then a zipper that will fit along the short edge of your body pillow. So for the fabric, I washed this, I used some fabric softener, and then we have our pillow here. So for your pillow, I got this off Amazon. You can get them anywhere if you were in the market for one. But the first step is to take the cover off your body pillow, and you want to measure across to get the width as well as the overall length of the body pillow. Now, if yours did not come with a cover, you could definitely just get the measurements from wherever you bought it from, and then add about an inch and a half to either end for when you're cutting out the fabric. This will give you some seam allowance. So for mine, it was around 19 inches wide, so I'm going to be cutting out 21 inches. You can see that little white part on the side. I am going to be cutting that off as I do not want that as part of my fabric. Now, my fabric is folded right now along this long edge, and that's going to allow it so I don't have to sew up that seam since we are just making one pillowcase. Now, there will have the short edge at the bottom as well as cutting off the length at the top as well, and then this is what my pillowcase will look like. Now it is time to start working on the zipper. So as you can see, I have this folded so that it is inside out and the right sides are together. And then I have my zipper at the edge, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be marking where I want my zipper to go. Now my zipper is actually about an inch shorter than what the overall width of this fabric is, and that is okay. So what I'm just going to be doing is I'm just marking where I'm going to be putting the zipper. So making sure I'm taking into account the seam allowance on one edge and making sure that I know where exactly it's going to be going on either side. And the reason I'm doing this is because we are going to be adding our zipper first, so you want to be sure that you have the placement for both pieces of the fabric since this is just on one continuous fold. So doing it this way will let you see where you're going to be having your zipper go on one side of the fabric, and then you can also see where it's going to be going on that folded part on the other side. Once you have that figured out, you are just going to be pinning with right sides together, the right side of your fabric with the right side of your zipper edge. So you can see I'm doing this here. So my zipper is actually folded down at the moment, so that little zipper pull is underneath, and I'm just going to be taking a straight seam all the way across to sew that zipper in place. So as you can see here, the zipper pull is actually facing down, and I'm just using a regular presser foot for this as I'm not worried about being too close to the zipper, and I found that it worked really well. If you want to use a zipper foot, you definitely could though. So once I have that zipper attached, so you can see here that it is now sewn on, we have it looking nice and clean. I'm going to repeat that exact same process for the second side. So this is why we marked earlier with our pin where that zipper is going to be starting and stopping. So I'm just going to be putting it where I put my first pin, and then just pinning the right side of my zipper with the right side of my fabric all the way up so I have this nice clean edge. Now I'm just going to take a seam directly across all of this to sew the zipper in place. So very similar to the first step, but now we have our zipper inserted. So this is what my zipper looks like. It looks really nice and clean. You can see that you don't see any of the raw edges of the fabric or the raw edge of that zipper. Then at the edge where the fold was, we have a little portion that is not sewn up. So what I'm going to be doing for this is pinning this. So I am pinning it below the zipper. So as you can see, I'm putting my pin so the zipper is up at that top portion, and then I'm going to be sewing below it. And then I'm going to do the exact same for the second side. So where that zipper started, I'm going to be pinning it, and I'm going to be sewing below. This is going to allow you to have your zipper be encased, and you won't be able to see the edges of the zipper at all. And once you repeat it for that top portion, you can then do the bottom portion of your zipper. And what I mean by this kind of gives it a nice close look is when I turn this right side out, you can now see that you see the zipper starting and stopping, but you don't see any of those edges. So it gives it a really nice and clean finish. So now what it's time to do is focus on the rest of the edges of our pillowcase. Now I decided to do these in French seam, so that way if I'm washing my pillowcase, I don't have to worry about the cotton coming unraveling. And don't worry, I'm going to be showing you at the end how you can deal with the raw edges of your fabric that we use for the zipper as well. But to do the French seam, what we're going to be doing is we are pinning the wrong sides of our fabric together for these two edges, so the short edge as well as that long edge. And I'm going to be taking a seam all the way around for these two edges. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention at this part is be sure you have your zipper undone so that you are able to get in and out of your fabric. Now once I do the short edge, I'm going to lift up my presser foot and I'm going to put that back down and pivot my fabric and then just sew along that long edge. This way you don't have to do multiple individual seams, it's all done in one go. Now for the next part of the French seam, you are going to be cutting very, very closely to your seam, getting rid of all that extra material. So giving it a very, very small little bit of fabric, so you can see here, just a little, and then we are going to be turning this so that it is inside out. So now we have the right sides of our fabric together, and I'm going to be pinning up each of these edges. So what this does is it's going to help us to kind of encapsulate that raw edge that we had, and it's going to give a really nice and clean finish. As you can see, for the inside of this pillowcase, you don't see any raw edges now, so when it comes time to wash it, you're not going to have to worry about it coming unraveled, you're not going to have strings everywhere. That raw edge is actually all taken care of in this big seam. So for the seam, I'm going to do probably about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. You could definitely do it bigger or smaller depending on how much room you wanted to give yourself to make sure you're not sewing into any of that raw edge. So now for the raw edge near our zipper. You could have done this a bunch of different ways. You could have serged it before we did the zipper. You could have done the rolled hem. I'm going to be using pinking shears on these raw edges as it just gives it a really nice and clean finish, and it helps it not to be fraying when it does get in the wash. With that said though, we're going to turn this right side out, and here is what our completed body pillow cover looks like. It's so fun, the zipper looks great. The best part is all of this is machine washable, so you can just take it on and off and you'll be able to have a brand new pillow cover. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you want to see next.